Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Simon Guzman, and I am a financial educator and intern supervisor with EAC. And during these past 2 summers, I served as a team lead for our EAC One Summer Chicago cohort. But I did want to talk about my own experience with getting banked and how that has actually helped me reach my goals. So I'm actually really glad to say that I was one of the youth that took advantage through a one summer program. So right when I was 18, so right after high school when I graduated, I did participate in one of One Summer Chicago's programs. So I was working for my first time. I was not banked at the time. So it was a big disadvantage that I had. But luckily, during one of the sessions that I had for my program, a group of money mentors from EAC, that's really funny, came to visit us, and they talked to us about getting banked, how direct deposit was very beneficial to us. So I paid attention just because I've always loved to learn. So that was something that was new to me. And I knew that I was about to get paid for my first time. So that was really exciting for me. But I did keep in the back of my head that I was not banked. So I did wonder, how am I going to receive the funds in my paycheck? So that was my main concern when I was in my first One Summer Chicago program. So again, luckily, EAC came, they discussed with us what banking was, how to get banked, and they also brought a banker with them that helped us open our first checking account and savings account if we were interested. So since I did want to receive all the funds from my paycheck and not have to go to a currency exchange and have to pay a fee, I knew that I had to take advantage of that opportunity. So that day I did open my first bank account. And not only did I open my checking account, but I also opened a savings account just because I've always been a big saver since I was little. I would always save my allowances and make sure that they lasted just because I always knew that there were emergencies. So I always kept that in the back of my head. So I knew that having a savings account would reinforce that skill that I had been developing since I was very young. So again, I opened both checking and savings account. So by the time I received my first paycheck, I already had my bank account, so I was able to deposit that check into my checking account, and then also put some of those funds into my savings account just because I was entering college and I knew college was really expensive, especially since I was not one of the people that received FAFSA or government aid. So I knew I needed money to cover any type of expenses that I had. And I did not want to ask my parents for help just because I wanted to be more independent. So I knew that having my own job and also having a savings account was going to help me with that. So that's exactly what I did. I worked as I was in college. I was working part-time, not full-time, part-time. And I enrolled in direct deposit at my job, and I'd made sure that some of my funds went into my checking account and then the other part into my savings account. And that's how I started building my savings. So over time, whenever I needed to buy something or pay a fee for college, I used my checking account for any funds that I needed to pay these fees. But if I didn't have sufficient funds, I knew I had my savings on the side to help me cover any type of cost that I had. So that really helped me in the long run, just for me to continue again building those money management skills, but also better analyze my own spending, since with bank apps you can actually see your expenses and also all your transactions. So that was very helpful for me. So I did become better at managing my own money. So by the time I was a junior in college, I felt like I was ready to open my first credit card and obtain it. So I decided to apply to get my first credit card. I was able to get it. So I knew that was a big responsibility, just because a credit card is not your own money that you're using another institution's money or funds. So I knew I had to be responsible with my credit card just because it does affect my credit score. So I only obtained one, and I tested it out. So I started off small. I used my credit card to pay for things like gas for my car. And I got into the habit of trying to pay my balance every week, if not every 2 weeks. That way I wouldn't forget to give my payments on time. So that really helped me. And nowadays I still continue to practice that just because I do not like seeing a balance in my account. So I make sure that I pay that balance that I have in my credit card in full. And that has luckily helped me obtain a really good credit score. So I'm in the great zone when it comes to credit scores. So I'm really glad that I'm there currently at the moment. And I know I have to continue practicing this. So this is something that you cannot stop doing. So again, I keep doing these things. I keep saving, having direct deposit, also paying my bills on time when it comes to my credit cards. So again, just continuing reinforcing these skills, I know is helping me. Especially reach all the goals that I've had. So I was able to graduate, luckily without taking out any type of loan. So I don't have any loans, and I'm very glad I was able to do that. Again, this is all thanks to me having my own bank account, having that checking account, having that savings account. That's what really helped me be able not to be in debt or have any loans. So I'm really, really glad about that. And I do plan on continuing practicing all of this. And my current goal is for me to obtain my first car by myself. So that's currently what I'm working on. I'm about to buy a new car. And I know that having a good credit score will help me when it comes to purchasing my car. So again, that's something that I have learned. But overall, I know banking is what helped me begin this journey. And I want to encourage others to begin doing this just to work on achieving their long-term assets. Just really happy to continue sharing my journey and hear others as well. Which brings us to our next guest speaker.
Just a quick introduction. My name is Steven. I'm currently a student at Stanford University, and I was part of One Summer Chicago's Money Mentor program for the last 2 summers. I think One Summer Chicago has done a lot in terms of financial understanding, financial literacy, but just to provide some context of my story, I came from an immigrant family where my parents were immigrants from China. They didn't have an opportunity for any education there, where the highest education in my family is up to the 4th grade. And then they came to the US with no English, no personal finance, and essentially without citizenship as well. So a lot of my life was built on food stamps, was built on government aid, was built on the brink of deportation and living medically uninsured. And that has definitely changed a lot of my perspective on finance, my perspective on practicality, to the point where I wanted to venture into that field to see many youth that came from backgrounds like mine, or just backgrounds that are not as privileged or underrepresented in personal finance, to have that opportunity to be part of that upper class top 1% now that is utilizing the stock market, utilizing these financial tools, that we've seen huge growth. One stat I always like bringing up was during the pandemic, we saw that there are millions of Americans struggling with unemployment, with housing evictions, food insecurity, while we saw a complete opposite end of people who were making the most they've ever made in a year purely from stock investments. And we just saw this huge gap kind of differentiate even more. And One Summer Chicago was my opportunity to kind of bring that education to the youth that really do need it. So during my last 2 years, I had an opportunity to work with underrepresented youth, underprivileged youth in the South Side of Chicago that came from backgrounds that they don't have a bank account. They don't understand what a credit score is. They don't understand how the stock market works, or either too intimidated to even venture into it. And that was what we did. We gave educational experiences that helped them introduce to it. And from a student perspective, students that came exactly from them, age-wise, school-wise, to show them that this is possible. And these are tools that you can start utilizing very early on to begin that journey. So with that said, in terms of how it's benefited me, I officially am the first one in my family to now enter college with a full ride, in the most financially stable position in my life I've ever been in so far. I have medical insurance through the university. And in terms of banking, I have a bank account, I have a Roth IRA, I have a savings account, and I'm on my journey of applying to my 5th credit card this year. And that's been a huge journey in terms of what One Summer Chicago has done for me. Because if I didn't have the opportunity to even just learn about it and then teach other people, I would have never known what a credit score is. My parents are still telling me not to apply for credit cards, or telling me not to get into credit. My parents are scared of me doing investments in stocks and getting into S&P 500 because they think it's like gambling. These are misconceptions that my family grew up with, which is completely not their fault, but it's just showing that my single case example of parents being misunderstanding of the whole financial product ecosystem we have is a root to many problems of students similar to the ones that we impacted in Chicago. So Yeah, like Yvonne said, like this is a story that I'm very happy of sharing, and just demonstrates how much of an impact that this one opening of a bank account can really have on a person's journey. Because that one bank account then inspires you to look into other resources, and the many powerful tools that are out there, that such as retirement. And then lastly, also being this year's one of the recipients for the scholarship award has been a very impactful thing for my family. In the last pandemic year, my family has faced unemployment where due to the pandemic, the impacts of xenophobia, and my family's one income reliant on Chinese restaurants and that industry entirely has basically shut us out for that year's income. Luckily, because of the scholarship, we were able to have some financial buffering of just typical things like groceries, typical things like student expenses. My sister is now entering her first in-person experience in high school, so being able to pay for her school fees, all of these things have been really impactful, and cannot thank One Summer Chicago enough. So thank you.